Today I had count 'em, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cups of high wattage coffee because I am clinically depressed.
I'm Ghostface. Hey, fun fans, it's We Enjoy. We are have a special breakout episode here talking all about Five Cream, aka Scream 2022, and return to Woodsboro. Eric. Well, first we are the Mattitude, Eric. I am Matt Fowler. Say hello, Eric Goldman.
Hello.
Oh, who's that? Do you have the Ghostface app from 2011?
Yeah.
I have to my shame, I have only seen this movie once. What a feeble display of fandom, a paltry attempt to call myself a Scream fan while Eric has seen it 5 times. And as he explained it earlier today, that means he has 5 times as many thoughts about the movie as I do. I'm a pretty good movie watcher. I think I can say that without fear of contradiction, but I will be relying on you to for a lot of the details that I'll probably have blocked out of my mind. Let's see. Sure. So Scream 2022, you've seen it 5 times, Eric. Obviously you have hated it and are just hate watching it at this point. And you're like, I go back every time to point out all the flaws and how much it mocks us, the real Scream fans. So
and I like to fake that I haven't seen it and turn to the person next to me going, I bet this is what's gonna happen next. Just so you can
ruin it for him. Yeah. Like, oh, it's so predictable. I can't believe it. Full spoilers.
Full spoilers, yes.
Yeah, because I'm literally about to say the only thing here. As we go back to these Scream movies and we've been rewatching them, I don't necessarily think I'm sitting there watching these movies. If I put myself in my mindset of like when I'm watching them originally years ago, I don't think I sit there trying to figure out and get ahead of the movie. I don't really want to get ahead of these movies. I'm not sitting there trying to predict so I can feel superior. I kind of want to be, I just want to go along for the ride. I want to be surprised as much as I can be because I like that feeling. I will say though, if you put Mikey Madison in a movie in which one of the characters is going to be Psycho and she's not one of them at the end, that's a huge twist. So the fact that she turns out to be one of them, that was like, okay, you're always looking for who the second person is. I think I got the first person, especially since Amber was like a ploy in the opening scene, but we'll get into all that. Mikey Madison, who played Amber in the movie, and you would know from Better Things, and very famously dying also violently in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Violently by fire, remarkably
No. To the point where we'll talk about it later, that I feel like it was an homage to that movie in a way, because not only that, but also popping up again.
It's a very odd thing for such a young actress to have already done 2 movies.
Encountered 2 fire stunts and 2 screaming resurrection charges. Yeah. Okay, so
Madison.
Scream.
Yes.
And a few things about Scream that I'm sure our listeners know, but let's just go over them. Not directed by Wes Craven, sadly. Not written by Kevin Williamson, though it is not technically the first Scream movie to have that honor. Kevin Williamson. This
time he stayed involved.
Yes.
He was. Although I think he has an executive producer credit on the 3rd one, he very much walked away from that project versus staying involved in this one.
Yes, and so he oversaw things, and we've got the team from Ready or Not in charge, which at the time it was announced made us all very hopeful for the new Scream. Because
they call themselves Radio Silence, by the way. If I use that term, that's the name.
And so Radio Silence is the pair of directors and the pair of writers, or just the directors?
It's the directors
and a producer, right?
Yes, it's the directors and I never know if I'm saying his last name right, so I'm sorry if I'm screwing up his name.
He's not going to listen. He's not listening.
Chad Valea, who, he's an EP on all their movies. This movie also the writers also worked on Ready or Not, but they are not technically,
but they're not part of Radio Silence. Okay, so the directors are Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillett. And they also did Ready or Not, which is a great movie that I'm sure at some point one of us, probably Eric, because I'll give him the honors of recommending it as a good thing to enjoy in a future episode.
Or we'll just do it. We'll just do it.
We can't do it on a breakout episode, Eric.
No, not a breakout. I'm just saying we'll just do the movie on a regular episode.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So, that gave us hope. And then, the legacy actors coming back, and you always, when you interview the creatives of a movie, especially before you've seen it and it comes out, and everyone's like, why did you join this project? And everyone's like, well, the script was just so good. So, making a new Scream movie a decade after the last one, you'd hope there would be a good reason to do so. You would hope that the script is solid, that there's a reason to return to this franchise. Which could have been put to bed a couple times at this point, and especially continuing forward without Wes Craven as the director. So you'd want there to be an extra special sprinkle of reasoning of why this was being resurrected. So Eric, just your thoughts of Scream 2022.
No, I really loved it. I was very happy with it. I guess I was hopeful. But at the same, because especially when they hired Radio Silence, because I loved Ready or Not. Ready or Not might have been my favorite movie that year. I know it was certainly like top 3 the year it came out. So if you were to find people to take over this franchise with Craven gone and Williamson taking more of a Godfather role, they were a great choice. I thought they were like very inspired choice.
You mean Godfather from WWE, right? Like
yes, exactly.
Yes.
But no, I was very happy with it. I felt like, and we'll get into the weeds with it about, ways where I don't think it 100% evoked everything about Scream. And maybe there's some times where I feel like, it's like not quite as funny. But I think overall they really captured the vibe overall. And then I was especially happy with what the end up being was the motive. Like, what was this movie going to be about? Because
we were talking about like what was the reasoning, because when we discussed Scream 4 on this podcast, we mentioned how easily you, with just a few tweaks and changes, alterations, additions, subtractions, you could air that movie in 2022 and it would resonate just as strongly, if not stronger, because it was about social media presence and remakes. The remake element was probably more 2011 because of the decade we just had with remaking horror movies. But I also say this movie goes back to the original trilogy in the sense that it was about what the movie was. I don't think I described that correctly. Scream 4 holds the honor, I think, of being the only movie where the theme of the movie, which was remakes, was not what the movie was, because obviously you can't do the only time you can't do a Scream film and have it be completely meta is that one. Because the first Scream is about a horror movie. The second Scream is very much the rules of a sequel because it's a sequel. And the third one is the rules of a trilogy.
Right.
It's the third movie in a trilogy. Roman's plan isn't even that like he's trying to make a trilogy. It just unfolds that way because it's the third thing.
Right.
This movie, as we discovered, is about, and this is the terminology this movie uses, and maybe this can actually solidify the terminology within the fandom, the requel. You've heard it called rebootquel. You've heard it called legacy sequel, which is that is a decades later, or just sometimes, many years later, follow-up actual sequel to the stories that came before it, with the intent of also revitalizing, refreshing, and rebooting it with a new cast or new central figures, at least, moving forward. And the one that struck me the most with this one, specifically with this Scream, is The Force Awakens. As far as that was actually, the trilogy that was planned and rumored to happen back at with Scream 4 didn't, because that movie underperformed and they didn't move forward with the whatever their planned trilogy was.
Right.
Perhaps this one is also going ahead with maybe, if it's successful enough, they'll continue it forward with Sam as the main character.
And this opening weekend makes it seem it has been successful enough.
It seems like it will. Like, so what did it pick up? Like 30 million, a little more than that?
Yeah, and then because tomorrow, as we record this on Sunday night, tomorrow's a holiday, so it's assumed that it'll probably make around 35 million for the 4-day. Yeah.
So the killers in this movie were specifically making a requel.
Yeah.
Which is funny considering how much the Abram, what were they calling the new trilogy of Star Wars movie? What's the official name for them?
I think we just call it the sequel trilogy.
Sequel trilogy. That's right. Yeah. Eventually, how the divided fans were amongst those movies, especially the second one. And I was
just gonna say for a second though, the fourth one, it was funny because, like you said, the fourth one had this weird tricky thing because I've mentioned this before, which is that the word reboot for a studio is a catch-all. And, we've known people, we worked for people who would get mad if you use the term reboot for a movie that was a legacy sequel. And I was always trying to explain, well, no, because the studio means is we're going to reboot the franchise, like we say, reboot your computer, which is just started over again. Whether that be a hard remake or a legacy sequel or requel doesn't really matter to the studio. They just want more money from the title.
Yeah, they don't getting into the semantics of the actual labeling as far as it's like, we want money. How about how we get money? That's how they
right. So the fourth one was sort of trying to tackle the reboot thing, but more directly about remakes, because like you said, we were coming off a decade of every like classic horror movie having gotten a hard remake. Obviously Scream couldn't do that if it was going to star the same cast playing the same character.
Of those movies, Eric, was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre the only one of those remakes that actually spawned more? Actually, The Hills Have Eyes had more too, like direct to video.
Oh, it did, yeah.
I'm trying to think of success-wise. Obviously, Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street never moved forward.
And Friday, of course, was odd. I mean, because both those two made money, although even with their quick fall-offs, and Friday was weird, it didn't have a sequel. I think you're right about that. I think Chainsaw Massacre, which had a prequel, canon that was connected to the remake, and then Hills Have Eyes had the straight-to-video. Yeah, I can't think offhand others, which is surprising.
And honestly, some of the remakes were ones that, like My Bloody Valentine, Last House on the Left, these were movies that originally never had sequels to begin with anyway.
Right.
But it's just weird that it's like we're not going to have like an actual running franchise except for like Saw in the aughts. Right. Everything else will just be like one-off remakes throughout for 10 years. Okay, so I really liked this movie. I think I really wanted to love it. A few things preventing me from absolutely loving it. I really liked it. I also want to see it again. I think I will actually also like it more the second time I see it. I think things will come together and gel a little more because, I mentioned I'm not trying to get ahead of the movie, but I'm also trying, in the midst of a mystery while watching the first movie. And, there's something to be said about these movies, going back, watching them again, knowing the ending. So it was already a tricky thing. Returning to Woodsboro after Scream 4 already did that.
Right.
So it's already not
11 years later. It's like that was a obstacle they had to overcome, which is Scream 4 was 11 years from the last movie, back to Woodsboro, and a reboot. Again, the catch-all of that. So this was going to have on its surface a lot of similarities, like going into it.
Yeah, it was going to have similarities. It wasn't going to stand out the way that something like this kind of needed to. It was going to feel very similar. The only major difference, obviously, where our legacy characters were, and B, the teens now were 10 years even more removed from Woodsboro, so they had even more of a hazy recollection of what happened. Well, Tara did at least. Everyone else, because they were related to people from the past, like had more of an idea of what was going on. But like, nominally, Jack Quaid's character is like, obviously he's playing dumb the whole time, but he's like, what is this franchise? Or isn't that about this? And so, but it was believable because we're so now far removed from, we're 25 years later quarter of a century later from what in IRL in that universe happened in Woodsboro.
Right. We're now these characters, these teens would not have been alive for the first trilogy, really, versus like Scream 4, where they would have been little kids, when it happened.
So so there were certain things that I really like what they did with Dewey. And I think it's and again, you kind of saddle up to the sequel trilogy for Star Wars 2, where it's like the big the way that those trilogies move through the legacy characters. Obviously they didn't get to do what they wanted to with Princess Leia because of Carrie Fisher's untimely passing, but I feel like this was playing it the same way. I feel like this movie didn't need Sid, because what worked for me was Dewey and Gale, and like I think it's the only time I've cried it in a Scream movie, honestly, is like Gale seeing Dewey being carted out. Like I don't know that I've cried at a Scream movie before. So that got me teared up. Sid, I felt like she was in this as much as she was in Scream 3, which was not a lot. And it didn't really work for me. I think honestly, like the Gale Sid team up at the end had fun moments, but I wish they had done something a little different with her. Even just having her show up at the end and not throughout. Eric, there's where you have to remind me. She says Mark, right? Like that's who she's with. She's with a detective from 3.
Her husband is named Mark. Obviously, we can
draw the conclusion that
is Mark Kincaid,
yeah,
Patrick Dempsey's character, while giving them the wiggle room to not make it Mark Kincaid. If they want to have her husband in the next one and Patrick Dempsey won't do it, or they can't get him, then it could be a different Mark. She just ended up with a different Mark. But yes, I
hope it's Mark Summers from Double Dare.
I am very glad Sydney is in this movie. I mean, I understand like what you're saying. Like you could do this movie without her, but I don't know. I feel like when she
it would be terrible. No, I'm saying like it would, obviously from a marketing standpoint, the first Scream movie without Nev Campbell would be a terrible idea.
No, but I'm not even talking marketing. Like I do feel more satisfied that she is in it. And I'd really like, even though, it's like she, we only see her once in the first half of the movie, and then she comes back in for the, final third. But I do like sort of just how like hard edged she is, like the shooting through the doors and stuff. I thought was great. But I will also say, we should say the big difference this movie makes. Here's something we didn't talk about. There's, a couple things I forgot to mention as we were going through the other ones that I'm like, oh, now I can mention it. It's like this movie kind of tells you it's going to be different. Well, two things right up front happen after the opening scene. I say kill in quotes because we're going to very quickly find out that the opening kill wasn't successful by design or by accident. That the person survived, but also every Scream movie goes from the opening sequence to Sydney. Like the next person we see is Sydney, even in the third one when she's not in it nearly as much. So this movie kind of tells you this is about a new main character because we go to Sam. It's like it's not, we're not going to cut to Sydney from that opening attack sequence.
Let's get into the cast here. So we've got Melissa Barrera, who was great in the Heights from this past summer, a movie we both really enjoyed, and is deceptively over 30 years old. And she plays Sam Carpenter, aka Sam Palpatine in this case. That was another curious the whole Skeet Ulrich, Billy Loomis part, and we'll get into that after we go through the cast. The way that was played out throughout the movie, because they could have done that a bunch of different ways. She's also was on Vita, but I never watched any of Vita. We have Mason Gooding.
I sat through a TCA panel for it, so I remember seeing her on that panel.
You've seen her in a little square that,
this was a real life TCA panel.
You saw him first. Mason Gooding, who is Cuba Gooding Jr.'s son, and plays Chad, who is the twin brother of Jasmine Savoy Brown's Mindy. And we don't know their last names until we see them at the end credits, that they are Meeks-Martin, because they are the daughter of Heather Matarazzo's, Martha Meeks, Randy's sister from Scream 3. So they are the niece and nephew of the late Randy Meeks. And Jasmine Savoy Brown was in one of the hot shows of the moment right now with Yellow Jackets. We mentioned previously already, because our Eric's Good Thing to Enjoy this past episode of We Enjoy was Yellow Jackets. So he mentioned that she was on The Leftovers. She does a voice on the Spider-Man Miles Morales video game. And so she's Mindy here. And then we've got Dylan Minnette, who's been in a shit ton of things.
Right.
First thing that Eric and I, or at least I saw him in, was aware of him on, was Lost, and then Awake. Awake was a very great single season series that Eric and I both enjoyed. But he's been on everything from Supernatural to Prison Break to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
But 13 Reasons Why will be what a lot of young people will like identify him with.
And that was, is he on, how many seasons did that go? Three
seasons, yeah.
Okay.
And he was Blizzard on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, he was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He was back when season 1 was trying to like give us actual comic book Marvel villains, and but they were really weird versions. Like the Graviton thing wouldn't pay off till seasons later. But all right. Jenna Ortega, who I haven't really seen in anything. She's Tara, who gets stabbed and horribly, beaten and maimed in the first part of this movie. The younger sister of Sam. We've got Jack Quaid, who is
and I'll pause for a second and say the thing that people mostly seem to know her from was You, which I've not watched on Netflix.
Oh, so we're just not watching these Netflix shows, Eric.
But I had watched the other Netflix show she's on because I saw the whole first season of Jurassic Park Camp Cretaceous, and she's voices one of the main characters. So that is what I knew Jenna Ortega from.
So when you were watching the opening scene, you're like, this reminds me of the episode of Camp Cretaceous.
The funny thing I'll get to about Jenna Ortega, I'll get to. I will mention up front, and we can talk more about it as go. I was really impressed by her. Like, I really liked her as an actress. That she's very, very empathetic. So having not seen her in anything before, not counting Camp Cretaceous, I was like, oh wow, she's really good. And then it was very funny to check her IMDb and see all the things I'm guaranteed to watch her in this year, because she's in the Foo Fighters horror movie Studio 666, which looks very fun, and I would definitely watch. She's in the new A24 horror movie X, which had its trailer just come out this week.
And most importantly,
she is Wednesday Addams
in Tim Burton's Wednesday series on Netflix. Yes.
So she is quite the she is a scream queen where she wasn't last year. She is now very much this year, putting a hard stamp into that world this year.
Man, and then we've got her co-star Jasmine Savoy Brown on the show with Christina Ricci, who is Wednesday Addams in the original. Then we've got Jack Quaid, who is Dennis Quaid's son, who has been in a bunch of things, going back to like the Hunger Games franchise, and then actually Rampage, where he starred. I can't remember that movie enough to know if he and Marley Shelton were in a scene together, but she was in that movie too. And but came to prominence in Amazon's The Boys as Huey. Also, though, you and Vinyl. I did watch Vinyl.
You're being very overlooking here, because all you said was he's Dennis Quaid's son. That's not the only person who made him. The other person who made him is amusing, because he is Meg Ryan's son, and Meg Ryan was, famously sort of mentioned in the first Scream that's who she'd, I see you as a young Meg Ryan myself. And last week we were trying to remember if Julia Roberts had been mentioned in the Scream movies, and
someone on Twitter told us. Yeah.
So I'd like to note 2 Scream franchise killers are related to people referenced in earlier Scream movies. So that we should try to figure out if they cast more progeny of famous people in future installments where their uncle, aunt, or parent mentioned in a previous movie. That's your clue.
If this movie, this is a ridiculous statement, but if this movie was made 25 years ago, maybe a little less, this character would be played by Joshua Jackson.
Yes.
And Jack Quaid is very Joshua Jackson-y. He's very.
I had a huge conversation about this with Brian Collins. I don't know if you know Brian. It covers a lot of horror stuff. Who had never seen Jack Quaid in anything, that hasn't seen The Boys yet, but mentioned to me how much he evoked Joshua Jackson.
His face and his voice very similar.
And I said yes, and I told him, if you watch The Boys, which he now wants to check out, I said it's a role Joshua Jackson would have played on The Boys. So yeah, they are very much in the same lane as actors.
And so here's where I got to give it up for Jack Quaid. And you and I both also, I don't know if you've seen the movie Plus One with Maya Erskine from Pen 15.
No, I've not.
It's a good movie. You should watch it. Okay. Jack Quaid is kind of the comic relief in this movie, and him alone. Like, I'm trying to think of anyone else who's kind of
Mindy,
funny,
but Mindy's not in the movie as much. So
yeah,
so
he's the one who's really
Richie,
doing.
Yeah,
he's doing all the reacting because first of all, he has to fake like he's never seen the Stab movies, and he's like, "This is all crazy," and he's the one who all at every turn is the one who's saying like, "Let's not do that. This is a bad idea," and doing the funny react guy, and he's very good at it, and so he carries a lot of this movie, and then that's why I was so happy. Again, I wasn't trying to predict anything, but I was also happy that he was the killer at the end because you want someone that charismatic to carry that final 10 minutes. You need the speech, right? And I already mentioned that Mikey Madison, we know can be unhinged. We've seen her do it. She was also very entertaining, but you also need someone else. I couldn't, all the other suspects, like, and I'll mention her here because I don't think she's done that much as Liv.
Yeah,
I wouldn't care if Sonia Ben Amar was the killer because I wouldn't want to listen to her do the speech. You know what I mean? Right. Like, you want somebody who's fun. Then maybe, or Mason Gooding either. Like, I'm not saying like he wasn't good in the role. I'm just saying like that's not I wasn't looking forward to him speechifying.
The character, there's not enough with the character that you're like, yeah, what can they do at the end?
Though an argument can be made that a Mindy Chad team up as Randy's niece and nephew, as far as who would be actual weird, believable, toxic fans of Stab, right? Like,
right,
because they had like the in their home, the Randy home theater, memorial
Shrine,
and stuff like that. But also because she was the one talking about requel so much, it's almost like she couldn't be one, the architect of the requel and the one giving the Randy rules. So, Jack Quaid, very good, very fun in this movie. And then obviously Marley Shelton came back. Interesting note to note for Scream 4 now that all the while where she was flirting with Dewey, she apparently had a son named Wes at home too.
Well, this is the Egon Spengler thing, right?
Yeah.
They had a kid the whole time and we just never went home with them to know it. So, it was a big year for those discoveries.
I'm trying to think though, how old would she have been when he was already neglecting her? I'm trying to think as far as like, and going to the Ghostbusters Afterlife math. I can't think about it right now.
But Carrie Coon was born in like 81, and like that's the thing is like she would have had to exist during Ghostbusters 1 and 2. So
unless she's playing younger.
Yeah,
because
but
we're
then,
literally talking about Yellow Jackets where Christina Ricci and Juliette Lewis are supposed to be the same age when in real life,
but they're years apart. No, but I believe
difference. Yeah,
they actually put. If I remember noticing, one of the photos of her in Ghostbusters says 1980 something on it. So it's like they're firmly saying it. Certainly by Ghostbusters 2, she exists, and she's just not mentioned. So same with Deputy Judy in Scream 4. We can assume was a single mother.
Just looking for what better than to as a stepfather than the town sheriff. Looking for Wes.
And she and Wes were a very nice relationship. He was making such a nice setup for their sushi. Got out all these plates. Got out the soy sauce.
Talk about brutal. Obviously, Dewey gets killed in this, and it's the Han Solo of this movie.
Yes.
And I like how Jack Quaid at the end was like, or Richie is like, this movie has stakes. I'm not going to get the quotes right because I've only seen it once, but
because actually Amber's the one who says that.
Oh, Amber says it. See, I don't remember.
You're right.
But the other like almost equally brutal thing was like if it was just Sheriff
the mother's
Judy,
son,
it's the literal mother and son. Like the family is wiped out. Though I don't think that you could do the constant sort of jump scare fake outs and then not pay it off with a kill. That would be weird. But I want to know if Radio Silence, if anyone interviews them about that, the West scene where he's setting up the sushi and there's the constant opening and closing of like basement and fridge doors. If they're like, yeah, well, we were inspired by the opening of Jason Goes to Hell.
If I get to talk to them again, I'm going to ask that. How inspirational is Jason Goes to Hell? They're like 100% for the
100%. I will say that I saw this at Alamo Drafthouse, and they had, not only did they do the thing that I was hoping they do, because they do that usually with big franchise movies, which is like the story so far. So they had a whole big, and for those who don't have Alamo Drafthouses, they have a YouTube channel now where their own content that they make themselves, you can actually see that. So you could probably see a fun Scream recap.
Which is was very helpful for me when I missed some of the pre-show for Licorice Pizza when I went to see it at Alamo, which had like a really fun, like Paul Thomas Anderson and Haim, like their whole connection and everything about them. And I missed the first few minutes of it, but I got to watch it on their YouTube channel.
Actually, that reminds me, because I didn't see that at Alamo, so I should watch that. But they also had a fun history of the jump scare that was actually pretty fun, like how they started the movies, like what the most notable ones are, what the different types of them are called, how they skyrocketed in the in the 80s, obviously, and how they're just as used. You'd think they're not as much used today, but especially with elevated horror, but they've kind of plateaued. Another thing that this movie I think could have hammered home a little more, Eric, is the notion of elevated horror. Now we get the idea. We find out that they have made at this point an 8th stab movie. And here's the funny meta thing that this movie was smart enough to even get ahead of. Yeah. When they named this movie Scream and people threw a shit fit about it, they literally wrote that into the script. Yes. They wrote it into the script because the Stab 8 is called Stabbed and people hated that. Right. And Richie literally, like they're so angry about it. Like, just call it Stab 8. You're not fooling anyone. So they built that complaint into the movie already. Yeah. It was so fun. But yes, so Tara mentions elevated horror at the beginning, and then it's maybe pops up a few more times. But this is a question for you, Eric. Was Stab supposed to be elevated horror, and that's why the fans hated it? Or
yes, that because what she says is, remember the one that came out last year, and no one liked it because it wasn't a Stab movie. That it was.
So it was supposed to be like an A24.
Yes, it did. Well, first of all, Rian Johnson directed.
No. Well, that's the funny part.
Yeah,
you're right. The Knives Out guy directed it.
All the Star Wars connections are very prevalent when we find out Rian Johnson directed Stab 8. But yes, Liv liked Stab 8. Amusingly, Mindy, the geek avatar, hated Stab 8. But she says she's one of the people who hated it because it didn't feel like a Stab movie. Even though she's like, yeah, Jordan Peele's great, but this is wrong. What you did with Stab 8 was wrong. Stab is a certain kind of movie. These meta whodunits, and Stab 8 was trying to be something different, and the fans wouldn't accept within this franchise that they were trying to change the core of what it is.
So what I wanted to see more of Stab 8.
Right.
I wanted to see Stab as an A24 movie.
Right.
Like a little more of that, you know what I mean? So I think that would have like even made the theme it resonate even more, because that would have been funny. Although I do like the consensus that fans consider Stab 5, the one with time travel, the worst.
Well, Richie says that's where it went off the rails. Yeah, that's
because they go back in time or ahead in time. I don't know.
We don't know. Both. I said I was talking to someone about how is it a cheat that Richie is watching that video about the fans hating Stab 8 and why do they just call it Stab 8? Before we see him watching it, before Sam calls, why would he even need to do that? He knows everything about the series. But then we're like, oh, it's just him reinforcing his bullshit. Like, this is what I'm doing.
This is what he does.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm gonna fix. Is this problem?
Yeah,
here.
He's the kind of guy who, at the end, you find out is somebody who probably just like watches those over and over again to feed his bitterness.
Yes.
Apparently the one he's watching are YouTube horror bloggers who I don't know. James A. Janice and Chelsea Rebecca, who I don't know, but from their channel Dead Meat. And here's something that Eric pointed out to me. I've only seen it once, so I didn't catch it. And I'm wondering if anyone listening who watched this movie caught it the first go around or even the second, which is that when Richie is watching that YouTube video about Stab 8, the thumbnail beside it says, has a picture of Hayden Panettiere as Kirby.
Yes.
And it says Woodsboro survivor. So that's, I don't know if it'll ever pay off in any future movie.
It's an interview with Woodsboro survivor Kirby Reed.
So she survived Scream 4. Canonically, she has survived Scream 4. And something they could not do with Randy, I suppose. Like, it was a bloodbath.
Right.
But because we never really got a follow-up, and because we also just watched Sydney survive 2 stabs to the stomach, why not Kirby, right? Like,
right.
That's something that people can come back from.
There was enough of a little bit of ability there, and it was a big fan thing. So I didn't spot that the first or second time, but finally, because I had been told to look out for it, something about Kirby, I finally searched on Twitter, and some people had spotted it. I guess apparently her name is also on Dewey's phone when he goes to look for Gail's name to text. It's to give a split second to see other names, and one of them.
Well, you just watched it again tonight. Did you catch that?
No, I did. I still have not caught her name there, but that's like your first little like, oh, is that? And then the YouTube video says there's actually that the YouTube thing is filled with Easter eggs. That's the big one, because it's actually giving you very specific information, which is Kirby is alive. And so A, that's awesome. B, it means that she's in play as a character for the future of this franchise. But the other things are funny, because one of them is a Rian Johnson interview, whose name is not said out loud in this movie. It's the director of Knives Out, did Stab 8, but his name is like Rian Johnson talks like Stab or something is one of the interviews, other videos. And then the other one that's an interesting Easter egg is on the bottom saying something about, like, I can't remember how it's phrased exactly, but it's like, could the real Stu have survived the original Woodsboro massacre?
So that was something I was entertaining for this movie, Eric, was because we saw with Scream 4 some holdovers of Kevin Williamson's ideas for Scream 3.
Yes.
The fact that at one point there was an idea floating around of bringing Stu back as the killer, that was something that was possible in my head.
A killer or someone guiding the killers.
Right, exactly.
So it's a funny little Easter egg there, because it's obviously having meta fun with the idea that he nearly came back in the third one, didn't happen, but still to this day people say, well, what if couldn't he? Like, the TV set to the head, that's not as unequivocal as Billy being shot in the head. So this was having fun with that, because it doesn't say it's true, but it throws it out there as, even within the Scream universe, people are like, what if Stu is alive? Even though it begs the question, like, because in the original Scream 3 idea, it would just be revealed. They never mentioned he's been locked up this whole time. But here it's more like, have they kept it a secret that he survived?
Or maybe he's been, for a handful of years, 2 decades even, he's been in like a coma.
Yeah, there you go. Like Michael Myers in Halloween 4. Yeah.
So, we didn't really get into the motivations here. This is a requel, and Mindy calls out the fact that someone's probably trying to create a requel, which is like new cast with legacy characters, which also means someone, if not many people of the legacy cast, will die. In this case, it was just one, which was Dewey. But the motivation here wasn't internet's fame. It wasn't, to get, the media attention. It wasn't to fake tragedy, because, that was a shortcut that Jill was doing. She was literally shortcutting the tragedy that Sydney went to. It was toxic fandom. I don't know why I couldn't see that coming, Eric. I was like, what is the cause celebre? What is the zeitgeist of the moment, right? Like,
yeah.
I couldn't believe that, like, oh God, of course, that feels so obvious in retrospect that, just awful gatekeeping, shitty fans who go overboard and, aren't able to, basically disassociate from reality when something is in the least bit, disappointing, because their nostalgia is so strong.
If they take it as a personal, they can't just dislike something. It is a personal attack that something was made that they think is terrible.
Ruins their childhood.
It ruins their childhood. It ruins their life. It makes them want to threaten other people's lives. Again, it's funny that they take the Rian Johnson episode, Star Wars Episode 8 stuff so far, the parallels, because literally what their actual plan, what they want to happen is this. Again, it is funny because they don't want to be famous like most of the other killers. What they want is, because they hated Stab 8 so much, they want a new Stab movie done the way they want it, because they know better than anyone how to make a good Stab movie. So they are setting up this entire murder scenario to inspire the next Stab movie to be based on it, with what they want that movie to be. It's, again, the parallels to Last Jedi, because there was the remake The Last Jedi campaign,
or refilm Game of Thrones final
season.
Film the entire final season,
right.
Fucking
These
Game of
campaigns to uncanonize the Star Wars sequels, all this like bullshit. And because they just can't move on with being disappointed in something, and so that's their whole thing, is like, we're gonna fix the Stab franchise, which got fucked up by staging, not staging it's really happening, but setting up this whole murder with the villain we want, with everything we want, so that they'll make the Stab movie based on this, and this will be the story we want to see in the Stab movie. And that, I think, is pretty fucking great. Like,
yeah, it is. And also, and so that's why we get that Sam is Billy Loomis's daughter pretty quickly.
Yes.
And that she's seeing him. Not only does it play with her as a red herring, right? Because it's like, what if she blacks out and Billy takes over? We don't know like what her actual psychosis is, right? Playing with that, because we don't, at least I am speaking for myself, didn't know how it was going to play out in the third act. I didn't know that was a wild card. I didn't know what it was. Turns out that like her origins are like the thing that's like fueling Richie and Amber, because they found their perfect new killer that they're going to frame. The one thing that Richie and Amber haven't learned, which is something that no Ghostface learns, is Ghostfaces always lose. And specifically also when Ghostfaces are trying to frame someone else. So I'm trying to think. The only person who really wasn't trying to frame someone else, they're all trying to frame someone else, is Mickey. Mickey just winds up getting killed. So that because Mrs. Loomis actually, Debbie Salt was going to vanish into the ether and just blame, like, do a like a.
But Mickey wanted to be a famous murderer. Like he wanted to be a like and defend himself, saying he'll blame the movies. Yeah.
Billy and Stu were going to frame Sid's dad. Debbie was just going to leave Mickey as the killer, but kill him himself and then vanish as Mrs. Loomis. And then Roman was going to frame Sid. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. And then, Jill was framing Trevor and Charlie. Yeah. So, it never worked. Like, that's the thing, especially since they're such huge fans of the franchise. It's that.
And you're basically making me think, as you say it, that they have inevitably one of these movies has to have a killer that gets ahead of that part too.
Yes.
Right?
No, that's what I'm thinking. It's like the next evolution of the series is somebody who never expects to be discovered. And that's when like Sid busts into like some fancy lawyer's office and it's Stu. And he hasn't been doing any, that's what you mean. Like, as the mastermind, he hasn't been doing any of the killing. He's been doing anything, but he's been orchestrating it Wilson Fisk style from like, and obviously there's a lot of Last Jedi stuff here that's just really funny. But the fact that Sam is the new heroine, but she's also the daughter of like the series OG villain is very Rise of Skywalker.
It is, but obviously we're not going in, we're not doing this like we do like a full thing where we go scene by scene. So as we're bouncing around here and talking about the ending, I think they did something smart with it. Yes, of course there's those parallels. Also, by the way, it reminded me, you brought up Rey immediately, but I also thought about Kylo Ren only because, like Kylo Ren, I appreciated that they told us pretty quickly her origin. Like Kylo Ren, we find out pretty quickly is the son of Han Solo and Leia. It's like they don't wait till late into the movie. We find out she's Billy's daughter very quickly here. But I realized that they did something I thought was pretty clever by the end of the movie, which is because the end of the movie, yes, she has that whole like, what if I'm just like him? And Tara saying, you could never be. Then when she kills Richie with like a little bit of help from like her dead dad, like pointing out the knife to her, she kills him Tommy Jarvis style. Like
just overboard. Yeah,
overboard unleashes, and she ends it with the wiping the knife clean on her hand, which is the ghost face kind of signature move. They very much have given themselves the possibility to have her snap, because it would never sat right. Whenever there was a new Scream movie coming, people would inevitably say, "Ooh, what if Sydney's the killer in the next one?" To the extent that Scream 3 even had Roman say, "You finally snapped. That's my plan." And every time, including this one, when people would say that, I was like, that doesn't sit right with me. I feel like I don't know how you do that without feeling like the betrayal of the character. I'm not saying it's impossible. It just doesn't. It's a huge uphill battle. I thought they were smart here because they purposely, I'm guessing, built into Sam's character the potential for that, and they gave her Tara because Tara could take over as the hero if they ever wanted Sam to snap. It's like Tara, who is very likable character. Like I said, I thought they very well played by Jenna Ortega, so they both survive. So they've kind of given themselves the and one of the last times we see Sam is like looking once more at the reflection of Billy. So it's like they've kind of put in there the she has this potential that if they want to go down that road.
Or they just keep it as like she's Blade, right? Like it takes the half vampire to kill the vampires. It's like I can hunt them because I am them. No, the way she went completely psycho crazy at the end was awesome. And just seeing Skeet back was cool too. Like
that was great. What a great surprise.
Yeah, I had no idea that was coming.
I don't know if I guess I was going to ask you with the twins. Did you know that they were Randy's niece and nephew going in?
No.
Oh, because it had been revealed. If you watch the TikTok videos, Matt, they had these pretty fun viral stuff of like two local teens who are not characters in the movie, who were doing all these videos about the character. Like they're supposed to be classmates of these characters, and they're kind of following it all and talking about the suspects. But they solidified in those that they were Randy's niece and nephew. So people were already being like, "Oh, that they must be Martha, Heather Mozzarella's character's kids. Wonder if she's in this movie." So that had already been talked about. But obviously, Skeeter Ulrich being in it was just a huge shock. Just a really cool surprise.
And it tracks in the sense that Billy was frustrated with Sid not having sex with him for a year after her mother died, so he probably just had sex with someone else.
Yes,
in the school.
They also pointedly, as we're talking about, franchise building and looking towards the future, because the Radio Silence guys have said they want to do more. The movie just opened really well. They probably will get that chance. I was like, okay, they've given themselves a lot of places to build from. They never show Sam and Tara's mom talked about, but she's out of town. So it's like, okay, they can cast someone for that. It's like these
Who's
things.
Who's both an alcoholic and in London? Like, what's happening?
She's like one of those business people, those fancy business people.
And who are these terrible by the way,
mm-hmm.
Talk about the Scream franchise pattern of parents just leaving their kids when something awful happens with their spouse or some secret's revealed that they just don't like. It's like the mom abandoning Billy.
Sam's dad
just leaving because
both girls.
It's one thing if you're gonna be like, and this is obviously awful anyway, you're gonna be shitty to the one who's not your daughter, but the other one is
right. But he's just took off. But again, because we didn't meet either of them, we could still meet both of them. Certainly the mom seems like we will meet her in the future.
All right, let's talk about Dewey. David Arquette was really great in this. He was the best of the legacy characters for me. Gail, through Dewey and through the relationship and her scenes with him, really worked. Again, I've already mentioned that, like when she saw him being wheeled out, as he was in what was it? At least 2 movies. The
1 and
first
2, yeah.
And this time it was actually in a body bag, and also the line at the end where she's like, "You killed my best friend," was heartbreaking. Less heartbreaking was the fact that he kind of John McClaned her, and I don't know what all went down, but the fact that he only gave New York 2 months and then booked it in the dead of night,
right,
doesn't feel very Dewey. But I don't know, maybe she was being horrible. Who knows? But
yeah, the only thing, the leaving in the middle of the night, I could have done without. Because I do like the idea of her saying, you belong in Woodsboro, and him saying you don't. It felt true to the character, sad but true. It felt true.
It did. She gave it like
they didn't work out. Yeah.
They gave it a while. She got a job offer, and he tried it and couldn't. The same way that she tried it and couldn't do it, he tried it and couldn't do it. That made more sense.
Yeah.
The pulling a Sam's dad in the middle of the night does not sit well. Then, or I should say, not Sam's dad. At least Tara's dad. But yeah, that was the part that I really liked. I have no problems with Dewey's death. One or more of them needed to die in this movie.
It had to happen. Yeah, it did have to happen.
And if it's one of those things where if it's a trilogy, you kill one each movie, like maybe the sequel trilogy of Star Wars intended to do, then it still would work. But yeah, he was good. He was, also he had a few moments of him being the secondary comic relief because he's Dewey. They brought back the Broken Arrow theme.
Oh my God. That was so great. Like, they did a lot of those touchstones very well. And the fact that they played the Broken Arrow theme for him, because it was, it wasn't Marco Beltrami doing the score this time. It was, what's his name? Is it Brian Tyler? Yeah, who had done Ready or Not. But when they played the Broken Arrow theme, that was a mark out moment for me, Matt. And then it was great when the Sydney theme plays when she walks back into Stu's house. Her theme from the first movie plays. And
also, this one movie, unlike Scream 4, did have Red Right Hand in it.
It did. I was meant to begin this entire conversation when you asked me what I thought of the movie. I was going to say 15 out of 10. They brought back Red Right Hand.
I can't tell you how outraged I was and still am at this point. Is it toxic fandom? Maybe. Who's to say?
Sure.
That Peaky Blinders uses. I learned that Peaky Blinders.
I'm the one
on Twitter. Uses that as its theme song because, as we know, it's gained prominence through Scream, but not just because it's in the first Scream movie. It's because not only is it in the Scream movie, but the Stab franchise within the movie made it the theme of the Stab franchise.
Yes.
And to the point where in the second movie, the killer was blasting it to call attention to the murder scenes. And then no one else can use that, I claim.
And then Nick Cage wrote a new version for Scream 3 where they say the word scream in it.
That's like a TV show using, I think you said Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Or some other, but it's also like some other TV show opening with LL Cool J's Deep Blue. Right. My hat is like a shark's fin song.
And people were, because I said in my tweet, I understand the song wasn't written for Scream and it pre-existed it. And a lot of people brought up 2 touchstones for that song pre-Scream are an X-Files episode that uses it and Dumb and Dumber uses it. And I'm like, I get it, but it is now Scream's song. The first 3 movies, it solidified it. So
okay, you know what movie All Star is known for? I mean, Smash Mouth All Star.
Right, because All Star is the Shrek song, but it's not. It's the Mystery Men song.
Right, it was in Mystery Men first. Okay,
yeah.
But it's the Shrek song because that's what came after, and that's what it's most known for. All right. Mm-hmm. That's not the only time in my life I will use Smash Mouth to prove my point about something. I'm certain of
Sure.
Okay. What else do you want to say? We're already hopping around. So
I'll say that I liked some of the kills here. There were some brutal moments in this movie. Wes's death is probably the most notable with the knife slowly going through his cheek and out his neck. Is very brutal. This movie amped up something all the movies do, sometimes comically, but always an element is because we joke, everyone jokes about Ghostface gets his or her ass kicked in these movies, that all of them. But this one really pushed people fighting back in a way I just thought was kind of cool. Like everyone goes out fighting, and every character like does their best to fight off Ghostface. So it makes it even more brutal. Again, Tara, who we expect to die in the opening, like when he stabs her through the hand, it was like,
oh yeah,
Jesus,
like in the leg and then the hand, you're like, oh, she's done for, but no.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned how great Jenna Ortega was in that, and that's what you want. I haven't seen her in anything except this, so
right.
Yeah, you want somebody to be, like I said, how happy I was Jack Quaid was the killer because he got to carry the last 10 minutes. You want somebody who can carry those first 10 minutes. And that's why, she was so good in that scene. You need somebody who can realistically escalate their terror as the person on the phone gets more threatening and so on. Let's see.
And then I was going to mention, it's funny that Kyle Garner has like almost nothing to do in this movie. He's basically there to die early. And then we find out later he was Stu's nephew. But I actually really liked, just to switch things up, his death being so... He just gets stabbed in the neck like really quickly when has Red Right Hand is playing, and it was just kind of a fun way to mix up the formula of these things.
Well, also consider what you just said too before that, which is they were fighting back. Like he's a sleazo, so you don't want to see, you don't need to see him.
No, we don't need to see Vince
go toe to toe with Ghostface. Yeah,
right. And I don't know if you saw my Twitter exchange with Kyle Gallner earlier today. He had posted some pictures of him and David Arquette on set, just like sitting drinking in that bar, like that on the set. And in it, you can very clearly see his knuckles, and tattooed on Vince's knuckles are 1428.
Oh, the address,
which is the Elm Street house address.
Yeah, which
is both a obviously just a horror reference. Also, Kyle Gallner was in the Elm Street remake. But he actually wrote back to me on Twitter because I tweeted about, oh, that's really cool. And then he said to me, all my tattoos were pretty much references to horror movies. I should try to post more photos of them. So,
oh yeah, you should. Yes. Maybe it's on the TikTok.
Maybe it's on the TikTok.
All right. Also, something I appreciated about this. So Richie was using a lot of reverse psychology because he always had to be the one who's like, let's not do this. Let's get out of here. Actually, let's leave town. And so for him to actually mention at the end, I'm so surprised that the inhaler thing worked. Like to get you back here, which would very much felt like David Fincher's The Game, the ending of David Fincher's The Game. Yeah. So, spoilers for The Game, everyone, which is like, if you hadn't pushed me, I was going to have to throw you off the roof. Like at the end when they're talking about all the things that they would have done if he didn't do
right. Because in all these movies, and I say these movies both being Scream movies, but a lot of movies of this kind of not just a whodunit, but a master manipulator movie. Of course, you always say after the fact, what would they have done if this person didn't do this thing they wanted them to do? So it is fun when you throw in a line like that, just to get that little acknowledgement that like, I really needed you to go for that inhaler thing. So thank God you did. I did notice on repeat viewings, not only of course did Jenna Ortega use the inhaler when we see her early on, but then Amber says, do you have your extra inhaler? Both has an audience reminder, but also it's like Amber putting it in her mind. Oh, she's someone I could go to if I ever needed another inhaler. That's right. She has an extra one.
I also liked how Sam constantly didn't really want to have anything to do with like Sydney or again, we're so far removed now from the original, like actual in-movie tragedies that like, yeah, Sam wouldn't like, she's like, she doesn't like, oh, you're the person here on a book tour, or you're my cousin, or
right.
You're the angel of death. She's like, no, I don't need your help. I just want to leave. I just want to protect Tara. Even at the end, she's like, hey, if you ever want, and she's like, nope.
Well, she does go for her.
Sam out.
She does go to her for some advice at the very end. I'll mention a couple other little Easter eggy things. I had mentioned to you, Matt, on a text exchange that we get several more cast members of the original Stab when Tara goes to the IMDb page for it.
Oh yeah. You should mention it. Yeah.
And so it's very quick, and so this is where Not having it on streaming where I can't pause, we'll have to wait for more specifics here because it's so as she's scrolling, it's so quick. But the one I've definitely seen the actor and character for that amused me a lot because it's such an of the moment person, like of the 1996 moment or 97, that would sound right, is Craig Bierko has Cotton Weary, who like isn't a famous person, but he was in a lot of things Matt and I saw, and he's the villain in The Long Kiss Goodnight. And that was a really fun, choice for that. And then the other two actors I saw were in Stab, but I didn't see their character that I think I'm probably guess right on my guesses, was Vince Vaughn and Alicia Silverstone, which I'm guessing is Stu and Tatum. But need to watch it more times to confirm.
I should also mention that Craig Bierko was on a very short-lived sitcom starring Valerie Bertinelli called Sydney. And I think we just cracked the case.
We cracked the case. Also, I noticed a couple after I saw
starring Matthew Perry, who would be a Friends fan and star with Courtney Cox or Courtney Cox now.
I noticed after a couple times that Dewey has in his home what looks to be Tatum's ashes, a case with her name on it. Some people I've seen like kind of joke or it bothered them, or they joke that she's never mentioned, like Dewey never brings her up again after the first movie. And I mentioned how it is a funny thing in the third one when like the part where Patrick Warburton is like mocking Dewey
but it's not Dewey.
It turns out not to be Dewey. But this movie actually has two references, which I think is the way to do it right, because we understand that Dewey has a kind, caring person, will always be sad about his sister. And when Sam comes to see her, she goes, "My sister was stabbed. I know you know what that's like." And that's what she's referring to. And then we see that he has her ashes. So Tatum fans, don't worry, Dewey isn't like Burn in Hell. He thought
no one notable was playing Randy, because we never saw before.
Which it shouldn't
the scene
be.
in
Which
Stab.
it shouldn't, and it shouldn't be because Jamie can't. Randy in Scream 2 is so angry about the fact that you get David Schwimmer. I can't remember what he says. You get David Schwimmer, and I get
someone who was in a commercial, right?
Yeah,
or something.
Yeah. Which was great for them because they didn't have to use de-aging. They spent the de-aging budget on Theodore Rick, so they didn't have to like try to de-age someone else to show you new Randy footage from Stab.
So who got David? David Schwimmer was Dewey, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And like I said, oh, by the way, and I mentioned it earlier, like my favorite performances in this movie of the new cast were probably. And I like Melissa Barrera a lot, but she has to kind of, she has to play the straight woman, although she also is like, is she crazy?
Well, then that's why I liked her turn at the end, because that was the first time I was like, oh, she's more than just
right.
She's basically more than the girl Jill was pretending to be in Scream 4.
Exactly. Because that was the other thing they had to kind of, because they did the fake out with the new cast in the fourth one. So what are they going to do this time? But yeah, Jack Quaid was great. And I said Jenna Ortega really impressed me. I'd never seen anything before. And then I definitely thought that why am I blanking on her first name? Oh, Jasmine Savoy Brown was very funny as Mindy. Again, the new Randy thing, which we had done with Kirby to great effect, who is in Kirby's in more of Scream 4 than Mindy is in this movie. But her stuff near the end is very funny. Both her big monologue, of course, about requels, but then also just at the party where she's basically like the stoner lesbian version of Randy. And she's very funny.
All right. Here's the line. I cannot believe it. They got Tori Spelling to play Sid, and they cast Joe Blow Nobody to play me. At least you get David Schwimmer. I get the guy who drove the stagecoach for one episode of Dr. Quinn. So
there you go.
It would be funny if we could look up that actor who played Randy and had some connection to Dr. Quinn.
That would be amazing.
Jane Seymour's son.
And I guess I want to just quickly say that the original cast, I thought they were very well used. Dewey gets the most screen time, and I don't know if he gets the most screen time because of course he's gone by the midway point, but he kind of is with the new cast the most. I liked how they were handled. And, Sydney coming in near the end, worked for me as far as just like, the fact that she was blunt force trauma Sid when she came into that house. Again, it gives it a funny Richie moment where he's like, you're shooting everything. Like, why didn't he come out? And then the end, the final fight, because, you know, mentioning actors, yeah, like I do think Mikey Madison is really fun. There's a couple, her delivery, she's a very specific, you know, again, she's kind of getting typecast as like Psycho Girl, but she's very good at it. And a couple of her line deliveries, the one I know I really like is when she says, when she's trying to kill Gail and she's like, your story's over. Which I thought, I just like how she enunciates over, and screaming about, when she says, how they find out that Billy was Sam's mom, and there's like, it's a small town and your mom was drunk. Anyway, she's really fun in that. And I loved how Sydney and Gail like team up against her. It's all really fun. Like their fight is fun. Her saying I was radicalized, and they say why what by the movies? She goes, no, the message boards, they're so angry. One line was very funny. And then of course, even without the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood thing, is just a funny, bizarre connection, but it's very satisfying. Hand sanitizer, topical, and also a way to have her set on fire when the flame hits her from that thing. By the way, I don't think I think you have to have the wrap up scene at the end outside, but I still prefer the Babadook is kind of a killer final line if that had been like the cut to black.
Oh, if they just actually ended the movie there, that would have been good. But yeah, I guess if you like really had to weigh what would be best, it would be like the pull out like in the original movie, as far as like that house.
Oh yeah,
and
they
the
wanted
reporter out front, and yeah. Was the reporter's jacket even the same color as Gail's in the first movie? I don't think so.
I think so. Maybe it evoked it.
So there's obviously, you've seen it multiple times, so you know these lines and these deliveries that I forget. But I do remember, like I said, David Arquette did get to be funny a couple times, and there was one when, especially when he was sitting with all of the youths.
Oh, that cut deep was
that was what I couldn't remember. I know there was something like that hurt or something, but yeah, that was very funny. So yeah, and you know, very brutal and bloody, and this gets to be what this gets to be what Richie wanted, right? This gets to be in our world, though, a stab movie in the midst of elevated horror. You know, in the middle of all this, stab still gets to be a Scream movie. Scream still gets to be Scream. Scream still gets to be Scream in the midst of Robert Eggers movies and other A24 movies, which you and I both like a lot. But we still get to have the slasher murder mystery gonzo Scream movie in the middle of things like The Night House and other things that are slow burn, artistic, meditative horror.
Agreed. It's very funny that Jenna Ortega is in an A24 horror movie next, after, you know, her character was the fan of that stuff. It was weird to me in the wrap up. I could have done without Chad being alive. It kind of felt like kind of random. And actually, I do like. I think
who? Mason Good. What? Oh yeah. With the thumbs up, yeah.
He's kind of he oddly kind of gets the Dewey, because Mindy is not shocking she survived because, you know, she's bleeding, but you know Sam did get there before she was killed. But Chad is a little bit of the Dewey, like we thought he was dead, but the character didn't have enough screen time. Although I do think Mason Gooding does give good performance. Some of his lines are funny as far as like you might be the killer and stuff. But it just seemed weird. It was fun at first. I'm like, Jesus, like 6 people survive, and then I was like, well, the first one 4 people survive, including Dewey has the surprise. So
I feel like I was counting the other day, and I feel like 5 people died in the first, 5 people died in this one, and all the ones in between, 8 people died. I could be wrong. But so like, even if this was like doing a requel of the first movie, it had basically the same body count.
Yeah, it's not even about the body count. I was just surprised that they threw him in, but then I do think that's probably, again, an eye towards the future, because again, you know, there is the version of Scream 6 without Sydney and or Gail. It's certainly, they're not the focus anymore. Like, we understand we're going to, like, Sam and Tara will probably be the central characters. I feel like they kept, you know, both twins alive to kind of give them their core cast still. because Sydney and Gail can't be hanging out with
Gail.
Yeah.
I can see Gail. I think they tried to kind of do something to evoke this with Cotton dying in Scream 3. I could see Gail going out at the beginning of a movie, not Sydney. They cannot Laurie Strode her in Halloween Resurrection because that was so terrible. But I'm not opposed to Sydney dying. Though now that she has kids, it would be suck unless you just kill the kids too. Look, this movie is killing mothers and kids in the same movie.
Sure.
But yeah, I can see a scenario where Gail goes out in the beginning of a movie.
Yeah, I can see that too. But yeah, I do think that's probably why Chad lived, is because have this, like, it's funny, the two sets of siblings live of like the kids, you know.
Eric, if Matthew Lillard comes back as Stu, what if he also sees Billy and then like he faces Sam and they have dueling Billy visions?
Ooh, because their Billies are telling them different things.
Yes, they're telling different things. And it's different because, you know, Stu knew Billy. Sam's Billy is almost like a premonition type thing. It's like supernatural almost.
Right.
He doesn't know who he was or what he did. And like he helped her find the knife and all that stuff. So she's got like psychic Billy.
I'm all for that. So when I saw this movie on Friday night at the AMC Burbank, there was a surprise introduction from several of the cast. I had a funny moment because I was getting there late and I was walking into the theater and the people ahead of me had mentioned something about, let's go this way because there's all these people down this other way. And as I turn the corner, I see a bunch of people against the wall who like aren't walking into the auditorium. They're just standing against the wall.
You're like, get out of the way, losers.
Right. And I'm wearing a Ghostface shirt. And one of the girls in this group goes, cool shirt. And I'm like, fuck you. No, I did not.
Get your own.
And it was Melissa Barrera. So I am glad I didn't screw at her. But I had a funny moment because she
would have killed you.
Yeah. She said, cool. Yeah. She said, cool shirt. I said, thanks. And then again, everyone's wearing masks. And so I was like, oh, that's Melissa Barrera. And I almost stopped because I could have said, I just interviewed you a week ago on Zoom. But I also thought, with fucking masks, she's not going to, I wouldn't expect her to remember me anyway when she's doing 2 days of press for 4 minutes each, much less with me wearing a mask and all this shit. So I didn't do that. But anyway, it was her, Mason Gooding, Sonia Amar, but Skeet Ulrich was the fourth person. And it's funny because I posted on Twitter, I put the 3 names and I said, and redacted, because I thought it would be kind of a dick move for me to tweet.
Yeah.
But someone wrote back saying, oh my God, if it's who I think it is, that's crazy. But I said I didn't tell them this, but the way they did it was he came out and said, hey, everyone, I was in the original, and I want to introduce you to Skeet Ulrich. I was in the original Scream. I want to introduce you. So it's almost like, but then it is the funny thing of like, he's just hanging out with them. He just wanted to spend some time with the new kids, you know.
He is a loser. That was right.
Yeah. But they were hopping around because I saw him in the lobby when I went to go to the bathroom, and they were talking about, okay, the 8:30, like, you know, they were going to go to each of the showings to enter them that night. Anyway, It was a fun, nice surprise. Blah, blah, blah. I'm looking at other things. The last 2 things I want to say are both Easter eggy, just, you know, things to Dawson's Creek was funny because
that's right. Yes,
triple meta on this when you think about it. Of course, Dawson's Creek created by Kevin Williamson. So you've got that's sort of first and foremost, you know, his other most famous creation, you know, besides Scream, is Dawson's Creek. So they're watching Kevin Williamson's show. Then the next thing I thought about is, Joshua Jackson. That's funny because he was in Scream 2, and begs the question of like, was his character in Scream 2 always mistaken for Joshua Jackson? Like, you know, since Dawson's Creek is a show in this universe.
Mm-hmm.
But the episode,
it would be the same if she was watching Buffy. Yeah,
right, exactly. Right. The episode they're watching, and I remember because I watched Dawson's Creek for its first few seasons, is there was a horror movie episode early on. It was Kevin Williamson doing the Scream, you know, Dawson's Creek meets Scream, but Dawson's Creek, you know, kind of a horror movie vibe to it. And I didn't notice till the second or third time. You see him on screen. Scott Foley was in that episode. He was recurring on Dawson's Creek early on. So you see Scott Foley.
So Rowan Bridger probably went insane because everyone was telling him he looked like Scott Foley.
Right. So that's your triple meta thing with Dawson's Creek being watched in this. Any other thoughts? I have one other thing I'll say about Easter eggy thing.
No, I because all these Easter eggy things are new to me. I mean, I do remember the Dawson's Creek thing, but yeah.
This is just an observation that I don't know the answer to yet. If you sit through the credits, there's no after credit thing, although of course.
Oh, sorry. One thing about the credits. Terrible song. Okay, you can go.
It's not a great song, although it hits a crescendo right on Ann Nev Campbell that makes me emotional, Matt.
All right, all right.
Like they time it to like.
Who sings this terrible song, by the way?
I can't remember.
It feels like it's from a movie that was 17 years ago. But yeah.
It feels like around the time of Scream 3. But all I'll say again, they can do whatever the fuck they want. They put Red Right Hand in the movies. It's fine. In a cool way. And by the way, it was cool how they used it. No, at the very end of the credits are special thanks, which is pretty standard. Hayden Panettiere is given special thanks because again, her image is used, and it's not even a Kirby image. Like she obviously gave permission for that. And Matthew Lillard is special thanked, which I realized, I believe it is him. Like I said, there's that one YouTube video saying is Stu alive, and I think they just use a screen grab from the original Scream of the TV set on him, which is funny. But two people that got special thanks that I want to figure out because it feels like there must be Easter eggs for their characters in this movie. Are Henry Winkler and Adam Brody.
Okay, so something cop related.
Right. It could have been, I was looking in Judy's house. She was a deputy with him.
Right.
And also, by the way, of course, he was in Ready or Not. And so these guys would definitely want to do that. You know, it's like they know him and they can't put him in this movie because he died in the last one. So trying to figure out. And I forgot to mention last week, because I don't know if you spotted it or not. In Scream 4, there's a bust of Principal Hembry in the high school. We never go into Woodsboro High. Classes are suspended at the beginning of this movie. And I'm sure because of Scream 4, they're like, we can't go back in the high school again. So I want to know how there must be a Hembry thing somewhere else. So
yeah,
Haas
like
and Hembry.
Or even in scenes that never wound up in the film, just maybe some cut scenes that these.
Oh, you're probably right. Speaking of cut scenes, by the way, I was sad that I was like, oh, that sucks that Dewey and Judy don't have a scene together. He talks about being sad she's dead. But then I saw like one of the featurettes, them filming a scene together. So obviously just got cut for time. And I can see that would be a thing, like they must have had some brief interaction early after Dewey's introduction. Hopefully we get to see it on a Blu-ray or such.
Physical media.
Here's one thing I'll ask you because
that's the next Scream Killers. It's like is like physical media zealots who like need to like create a new Scream scenario for a box set. That's Scream 6. It's like we're
gonna create the perfect box set. Supplementary. It's supplemental right here. The commentaries have fallen by the wayside, Sid. We gotta bring them back. One thing, it's interesting, they must have known, like obviously they made this decision in a movie that is a requel and a movie that is evoking the Star Wars sequels a lot. We never get the original three back together again, right? Like just like Han Solo's death stopped that from being a possibility. Dewey's death, he does interact with both Sid on the phone and then him and Gil. Yeah, him and Gil get one big scene. I think that was, but I think it was right for the story because I honestly figured I figured like a lot of people, I thought Dewey was going to die by the trailer. Just if you watch the trailer and him going down that hall had a Last Stand feel. And so I thought, maybe his death brings both Gale and Sidney back, and it turned out to be one of them. But I think they made the right choice. Like Gale and Dewey, you want to see them together on screen one last time.
Yeah, before
I was cool with that. What about you, Matt?
I was cool with it too. And he was the one I picked to die because of that hallway shot too.
Yeah.
In fact, and that's the thing. What's his name? The other twin, Mason.
Yeah,
Mason.
That's the actor. Chad is the
Chad. Living was a surprise, but it's like we literally see Vince and Chad's quote deaths in the trailers, and I wish they'd knock that shit off. But they got to do something, I guess.
Yeah.
As well as and
we thought we saw Tara's death, so
yeah.
What are you gonna do?
All right, I'm tired. I'm done. But I will see this again. But I won't tell you. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, sounds good. My last thought is this sits proudly with me right now. Scream 4, after our recent rewatch, is my second favorite of the Scream movies. But this is my third, and I just feel like 2, 4, and 5 are all such good sequels. To me, it's like the first stands on its own, and the third stands on its own because it's the weakest by far. I'm just really happy that there's like a group of really good sequels in this series.
Basically, the best Scream movies take place in Woodsboro.
Yeah,
that's the takeaway. Never leave Woodsboro.
Never leave.
Everyone come back. And if they do like a Scream X and they go to space, they have to do like the virtual holodeck Woodsboro.
All right.
For Sounds Ghostface to kill him. All right. After or before he gets taken over and repaired by nanotechnology.
Yes, and he becomes Ghostface X. Yeah. Or Uber right. Ghostface. Okay.
All right. Until next time, everything is possible, but nothing is real. And Shakma.
Red right hand. Shakma.
Shakma!